And so that's it. We've reached the end of this Domestica course. I hope I've been able to teach you some of the things you need to know in order to translate the world around you into words and to bring your stories to life. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to go through all the steps we've taken to create your final project. The first thing I did was show you some of the materials that I use in order to write and how the pen and the pencil and the paper and the notebook that you choose affects what you write about and where you write. What we did after that was we started writing, and I showed you some of the techniques you can use to write everywhere and the importance of carrying a notebook with you wherever you go. The next thing we did was look at different ways to approach a single subject and choosing the right perspective to tell the story from so that it has the energy to carry the whole story. What we did after that was look at how to sketch with words, and the three things were how to slow down, how to notice the small details, and how to use other writers to inspire your work. The next thing we looked at was what to do when you get stuck. One of the ways was to use anchor phrases, and the other thing was to make sure that you always have books at hand. After we did those exercises and looked at those options, we looked at a strawberry. Some of the stages that we did was to just write about what you see, and then to write about what you feel and the sensation of the strawberry. Then we imagined what it was going to taste like, and then we ate it and just let the writing flow. That was the point when we started working on our final projects. In my case, I wrote about my running shoes. What we did after that was take a broader approach to a subject and wrote the history of your feet and looked at how to brainstorm through writing. What we did at this point was a look at what's more important, the facts or the story, and I wrote about my first run in 3 different places. After that, we looked at some of the things to keep in mind when working on the final story and finding the right form for that story. The next thing we did was type up the story and start rewriting and editing that story. Then we looked at ways to share your work with the world, build an audience, and find out what resonates with other people. And finally, I gave you some tips for future projects. I hope this course has introduced you to some ways of making the world around you feel more excited. So start writing, don't be afraid, keep the pen moving on the page, and I'm looking forward to reading your stories. I'll be there in the forum to suggest some ways to keep writing, to answer any questions you have, and to read your final projects. Thanks for sharing the space with me and for being part of the creation of my own project. And I'll see you soon.